What's up, everybody? Hello, welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
And when we don't have guests on our show, we are doing bonus episodes of Hustling Sideways for you, our side hustlers and fans of the show. Mm-hmm. And we talk about all the different things that side hustlers go through, and we go through in our businesses as well.
Things that we decide on the last minute to talk about because sometimes we forget that we have
on
to
a
do
text
this.
message on the way over here,
Which is totally fine, but we're here, we're good. And today, on my drive over here, I was like, let's talk about how to pick your people.
Yeah.
And this could be, I'm going to kind of make it audience, but it could be your clientele. Who do you pick to work with your side hustle? And so I'll give you just my sense of where I started with this. And when I got into speaking, I knew I wanted to speak to students. Mm-hmm. That was how I got raised up, if you will, in my leadership development background. And so by doing that, when I was mentored by my friend Arik for about 8 months, I had to get really specific on who I was speaking to, because oftentimes when you're speaking to motivate, you try and speak to everyone, and then it becomes way less relatable because it's too general. Sure. So I had to really zone in. So I actually had to make an audience avatar to know who I was focusing on and try and see that person in each It's really
an audience avatar.
So almost I had to think about who the person was I'm speaking to, their age, their likes, their dislikes, their name, and then I had to see that person in each, which is a weird.
Yeah, you had to create this profile of the ideal Jim Love audience.
Yeah. And what I found is I was speaking to myself at 16. That's really what I found. And because it was something I wish I knew. It was what I wanted to hear. So I actually had to see my psycho big-headed self in the audience, right, as a 16-year-old. But that's really, when I zoned in on that, I then knew exactly who I was supposed to speak to. And so I get asked this all the time. How did you start? How do you know who to go to? I do this. I was well, I picked the person I knew I needed to talk to and then would approach groups that maybe had that person.
Sure.
And that's where it was at. So that was significant for me. And actually the first couple of talks I gave, I don't do this as much anymore, but I would physically try and see me in the crowd, which is a really weird experience.
I get that though. You're trying to, like you said, find the ideal person, which was you. You're saying you're delivering what you need. What I
wish I wanted to know. And then on top of that, the thought that came away after doing it a couple times, right, was I was starting to realize who my clientele was. Mm-hmm. And when I thought my clientele was a high school administrator or a principal, and sure, that's who hires me. My clientele is actually a 15 or 16-year-old, because they're going to go back and they're going to tell their principal that they saw the speaker who was awesome, I hope. Yeah. And they're going to be like, well, that made our job a lot easier. They're not necessarily always searching. I certainly want to connect with those people and love doing that. But at the end of the day, the person who probably gets me to come there is their student. And so when I'm speaking somewhere, I'm not necessarily worried about what the teachers think of my talk. I hope they like it, but I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to their students. And that's a really interesting way to phrase it. But that's really what I found. And so the clientele has been important. Who I'm actually speaking to has been important, and it grounds you into what you should be focusing on.
Right.
And now I know that that's who it is. That's since extended a little bit more to all ages, because I know I speak into companies and volunteers, but my bread and butter will always be a 16-year-old.
You're still looking for, exactly. The 16-year-old or the equivalent of yourself at whatever age.
Or an adult who has that 16-year-old inside of them.
Yeah.
That's one thing too. And they all do.
I think I'm still that person.
We all do. Yeah. We all do. Whether you want to admit it or not, you all have whatever that awkward teenage kid is inside of you, who wants to come out and who wants to hear a message.
I would go so far as to say that you're the same person that you were when you were 3 years old. You're that same person forever.
That's probably pretty
nevertheless, accurate. I digress.
Yeah.
So for me, finding an audience for a Milwaukee-based music website, initially was a really kind of hard process for me, because one, I was everyone that likes music is gonna like this, right? So when I'd start advertising, I would literally just be people who like music as the description, and send that off your ads out. However, turns out those people don't really care. So for me, it was hard because I had to find, who's interested in local music.
Yep.
And a lot of times it was the people that were in the bands themselves initially. Mm-hmm. And now I feel like I've got a good base of people that are in bands and are artists and creatives and things like that. People that care like that. Mm-hmm. So now my current challenge has always been for the most recent challenge has been, how do I find the people that live in the suburbs, mm-hmm. that come into Milwaukee and come and watch, concerts? They'll go to the big music venues. They'll go to the big, Summerfest and festivals and things like that. but they won't come to like the Cactus Club or X-Ray Arcade or like a small local. So my challenge right now is trying to find those people that are music lovers, but haven't really tapped into like the local end of things, but they'll go spend money and go see, they'll spend $120 to go see a show in an arena, but they won't spend $10 to come into a local venue. So my goal right now is to find those people, and that's not easy because you have to find common ground and you have to find like kind of what the middle way is and how do you speak to those people. So for me, it's a lot of what's like
the value add,
creating content that is all like, if you like this artist, you're going to like this person.
Right.
Doing more of that stuff and just trying to just be general. And two, like we just did events at Summerfest. I know it's, been a while since when this comes out, but we just did events at Summerfest where I literally had little QR code sheets of like, you're at a music festival. So getting to be like, here, you would like Milwaukee music. You would like this. And literally just handing those out to people and being like, here's free music. Here's free music.
Take it all.
Yeah. And so, it's a little bit of spray and pray and see like whoever, whoever actually scans the little code and goes to the website and checks it out. But at the same time, it's just doing things that are different, that are appealing to people that would normally, people that are there for the headliner, getting them interested in the opening act. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's tough. And I mean, because it's a niche crowd. And you have to be like, who's actually going to be in on this? Once you start finding that people, I'm sure they're pretty loyal afterwards. And they're like, this is exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah, and I'm very fortunate. And I actually had a call this morning with an artist, Twan Mack, that hosts our Beat Battles. Yeah. The most humble dude, and he was just like, we created a little community with our beat battles and stuff like that. And I didn't really think about it that way. I was just like, we have the same people that come in. I'm glad, but it really is a little family we have.
And they kept coming too, especially.
Those people are kind of bringing their friends now, which is like, that is how you know that we're doing something right. So that's how we build our audience.
No, that's great. And I think no matter what you do, you have to be grounded in who you're doing it for. And I think it's important. It can't be, I shouldn't say it can't. Most of the time, it's not for every single person.
Sure.
Because not everyone shares the same passions nor are interested in what you have to say. Like I'm probably not going to work that well with like a really traditional 57-year-old CEO. Like someone who's not like, they kind of do the thing and
your
like
message doesn't
just probably not gonna happen, and that's fine. Like I'm totally good with that. The ones who are gonna interact with me are the ones, let's try something different, like who have a lot of energy, and I know many of them, and I've also had interactions with administrators who we're just not on the same page, and that's completely fine and normal. Don't focus on those folks. Find your people and the ones that are gonna make your side hustle or your passion better and give you opportunities in which to chase it, and that's what it comes down to. And it takes a while, it takes a little bit, but do some self-reflection and center yourself in that, because it makes a big difference as you're going along, and all the effort and time and energy you put in will not go to waste. If that's
absolutely. Yeah. So we want to know what you do to build your audience, because we're cheating. We're also building our audience at the same time.
At this very moment. Yes, exactly.
So if you're listening for the first time, thank you. If you're listening for the, who knows, maybe 100th time this point.
Yeah. Also, thank you.
Yeah. We are the Hustling Sideways podcast. We're everywhere. You can find us everywhere you get your podcasts. You can subscribe. Give us a 5-star review, because that does help. It's the only one you're allowed to give us. It
really does. We joke around about 5-star reviews, but
it seriously helps.
It does help this podcast keep going. It's been 2.5 years of doing this show, and the more 5 stars, the better. And we will personally send you a lock of Alan's hair if you give us 5 stars.
I didn't agree to that
until this moment,
but we could make that happen.
Which would be the worst gift maybe ever. But
I don't even know the logistics of how we do that.
We'll figure it out. We'll talk. Okay. Yeah, we'll be good.
All right. Other ways. If you're watching us on social media, please go follow us wherever we are Hustling Sideways everywhere. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we are on Twitter, we're on Instagram as well. So
we're everywhere.
Follow us all over the place. If you want to be a guest on this show and talk to Jim and I, it's very simple. Send us an email over at hustlingsideways@gmail.com. And Jim,
keep on hustling.
We'll see you next week on Hustling Sideways.
Peace.